What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the RAG, the Reviving a Generation podcast. It's your boy, Joshua St. Clair Minor. Let's get it.
Yo, what is good, everybody? Hey, welcome back to the RAG. Hey, we lit, we turned. That was so lame. I can't lie, that was lame as crap. But listen, man, I hope y'all had a great week. Happy Friday. I'm assuming it's a beautiful sunny Friday wherever you at, whatever time, whatever, whatever day you're listening to this. I'm just gonna assume it's a good Friday for you, or it's been a good week. I hope it's been a good week. It's been a pretty good week for me. Been a productive week. Been working hard. We got Easter coming up, so that's fun. It's gonna be awesome. A lot of people gonna come back to church who you ain't seen in about. You don't see them. You only see them on Easter and Christmas. You don't see them at no other time. Only on Easter and Christmas. But hey, they coming. So I hope people get to know Jesus a little bit in them 2 Sundays they come, which is probably impossible. But yeah, man, my week has been good. Today we just gonna jump right into it. I ain't gonna waste no time. I usually don't. I do title the pods, but I don't say the title kind of in it. But today I got a little cool little title. I got my iPad with me because if it's off the dome, you're going home. Sometimes it can be off the dome and be good, but I don't want it to be off the dome today. I feel like this is really important, something that our generation struggles with a lot, and it is fighting the fraud. Yes, and you might be wondering, what the heck does that mean? Fighting the fraud. If you know what a fraud is, basically fraud is something that's not real or it's untrue. Let me get a little sip of my. This is not wine. This is like cranberry tropical. Don't know why I got it as a drink because it make my throat like mad dry. So I'm going to swallow some water after that joint. But yeah. Basically, something fraud is something unreal and untrue. And so in our generation, there's this huge temptation to put forth an image of something that we're really not, an image of something that's our best self, or we're living our best life. And it's just simply not true. And I think the social media age and technology age, that definitely has a lot to do with that. Because you see all of these people, you see, they got the nice cars. You see they got all this money. Everybody telling you how to new ways to make money. They like, you see this dude, he talking about, yeah, I sell keychains and I embroider the names on the back and I send them to Amazon through affiliate marketing and stocks and that's how you can make money. They be saying just random stuff, and you don't really be knowing, but it's enticing, They be like, yeah, I flipped $3 into $3 million in 3 days. Let me show you how. Follow my course. And they got like all these Lamborghinis and they got wads of cash on them. And half the time, maybe some of those are true, but half the times those people are living frauds, and there's a hidden agenda that they're trying to push onto us and make us buy their product so that they can actually get rich off of us. So some people may have some real stuff to offer, but if you into stuff like that, make sure you do your due diligence and you check them out first. You check them out before you go buying stuff. But seeing all this stuff on social media, seeing friends, seeing people that that you love, you see, it feels like everybody else is prospering. And so you feel like you have to sometimes keep up. And in my personal life as well, I've had to fight the fraud of comparison and trying to be the best. I remember I said on the pod that I always strove to be the best in whatever I was doing. I always wanted to be number one, and that stemmed from a deficiency in my childhood, being like, short, smaller, whatever. The youngest cousin of the bunch. You know how that goes. You always trying to prove yourself as the youngest cousin. I was the oldest. I was the oldest in the family and the man, technically like the man of the house. So I had this weird concoction of passion and desire and determination mixed with like what's the word? Mixed with insecurity and not feeling like I'm good enough, or feeling like I'm not being enough, or I'm not where I want to be or where I should be. And so, especially in sports, that can happen a lot. I mean, I was 5. And I'm a grown man now, 5'7". I mean, when I was playing sports or whatever, I was probably like 5'4" or 5'3", who knows? But it was always me trying to fight. And I was always I remember in high school, I would always try to put forth an image of a person that I really wasn't. I was kind of like the class clown a little bit. And I knew I wasn't that funny. I knew that naturally I'm actually a serious guy. Like, I ain't goofy like that. You feel me? But to everybody else, I knew what it took to be popular, and I saw around me, and I'm like, okay, this type of person is popular. The person who gang bangs is popular. The person who gets all the girls is popular. The class clown is popular. And so I tried to make myself a little mosh pit of all of those things, and it was just simply things that I was not. I was not a gangster. Even though I thought I was a little bit, I was like, I thought I want to kill somebody. I feel like I want to kill somebody today. I'll pop a cap off in this. You feel me? Like I was crazy, knowing good and well I wasn't about to do that. And I felt in the music I was listening to, like it made me super aggressive sometimes. So I'm like, I feel like I'm an actual gangster, but I'm really accepting the fraud of somebody of who I wasn't. And the class clown, I'm a naturally serious guy. I love intellectual things. I was smart, but I wouldn't act dumb. I think I had a good balance of like being the class clown, but also, acting just or being really intelligent. Like I think my whole school career, I only had 2 C's, and it broke my mom's heart. My little sister gonna do way better than me. I don't think she ever had a C before, or maybe she has, but. Then when I got into college, that joint just started going downhill. I had like a D. I think I had 2 D's. I was just trying to get by. But I had good grades in a lot of stuff. Those 2 D's were just anomalies. Like, I don't even know how and they were easy classes. I was just not doing my work. But I was trying to put forth an image of who I wasn't. And usually we live this life. People ask us, how you doing today? And every time it's good. And we walk by so many people, and we go by people, and it's just like, how you doing? Oh, good. Hey, how you doing? Oh, hey, how you doing? And it's just this surface level transaction that's always happening, and nobody ever gets to the real nitty gritty of who you are as a person, what you struggle with, like your dreams, your desires, your motives. Like nobody really ever gets past that point a lot. And I think it's because we live in a social media age, but also it's hard to trust people these days, and I get it. But I think life should be done in community, and real community allows you to be the real you, and you don't have to put some type of mask on that's who you're not. And so putting on the mask and accepting the fraud causes us to set high, unrealistic expectations of ourselves and of our lives. And so that can be in our career. It could be in our relationships. It can be in whatever. I mean, for example, I just want to be fully transparent with you guys. I do music. You guys know that. I'm an artist. I'm doing a podcast. I'm basically a minister. I'm a pastor. I want to be an entrepreneur. It's a lot of things I want to be. I want to be an author someday. It's a lot of things I want to be. and my friends see that. It's so tempting to put out, I have all these passions and ambitions, and it's so easy to put out that, oh, Josh is doing a big thing. Oh, Josh is doing the next big thing. Or, oh, he's doing this. Like, Josh is popping off. Like, let's go. But ultimately, that always leaves me feeling dry. It always leaves me feeling unfulfilled, because those things weren't made to fill me. Me putting forth a person who I'm truly not just leaves me feeling depleted and insecure. And so I always have to fight the battle of, why am I doing this? I always have to fight the battle of, what are my motives in this? I always have to bring myself back to the why of why I do things. And that is to, one, relationship with God, walking in my purpose, spreading the gospel, bettering my family. That's why I do this. And I have to bring myself back sometimes, because you see people on Instagram and you see people on, whatever social media site, and it's tempting to want what that person has. And so instead of internally working to achieve what you see that person has achieved, we oftentimes put forth a fake image of what we've achieved or what we're going to achieve. And then it's like building a staircase with no foundation. Like we just trying to climb. It's like setting the ladder up but not leaning the ladder. You feel me? We're just trying to climb up, and it's like but then you fall ultimately, because you can't have balance like that. And so we have to be honest with ourselves, and ultimately we have to be honest with God and who we are. And it's crazy, because God is omniscient. He's omnipotent. He's everywhere. He knows everything. He's omnipresent. But we still have to be honest before the Lord, and present our pure and humble selves to him. I mean, like when Jesus was getting the disciples, they were doing what they always did, and he didn't get them in their best condition. He got the worst of them, or not the best parts of them, or the parts of them that didn't understand. Paul, who wrote, a lot of majority of the New Testament, I mean, he killed Christians. He was terrible. He was a terrible person. But God touched him in who he was and not who he was trying to be. Like, Paul was doing bad, but he wasn't trying to be somebody else. Like, he was being exactly who he was. You feel me? So we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be honest with God. And when we do that, y'all, we take so much pressure off of ourselves to try to succeed quickly, or to try and do things within our own power. Because when we accept where we are and who we are in God, like the pressure ain't on us. It's on God. Like, God, you lead me. You mold me into who you've called me to be. And I want to read this scripture to you guys. He already knows who we are. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 3. It says, a crucible for silver and a smelter for gold. I really don't have a clue what a smelter is, but I'm assuming it's similar to a crucible. And the Lord is a tester of the heart. And so if you don't know what a crucible is, if you've ever taken chemistry class and you've had like those you have these experiments where there's this white small little, it looks like a shot, kind of look like a shot glass, but it's white. It's like this ceramic texture. And what it's used to do is you heat it up, and basically you put like a little chemical or whatever inside it, and the heat changes the chemical inside it. It takes it to another form, basically. And so if you put silver inside of a crucible, what they did that for in the Old Testament, and they still do it today, you check the purity of something by melting it. And so the way they weighed if the silver or gold was pure and real or not, and not counterfeit, was they would burn it, melt it, and then they could see if there was anything floating around in there, or if it was pure gold and it stayed gold, or if there was like they threw a little bit of iron in there and they threw a little bit of dirt in there to try to, beef it up a little bit. And so similarly, God is a tester of our heart. Just think about that. Like, a lot of times we go through things and we endure things, and the Bible teaches us in the New Testament that, and even in the Old Testament through stories, that when we go through things, it's a testing of our faith, but also a building up of our character and our endurance and our spiritual gifts and things like that. And so what God does is he tests our hearts. He tests our hearts, our motives, our dreams, our desires, our character, and our personality. And what he does with that, he ultimately aligns them with who he is. And so a lot, like in a season, even in seasons that I'm in right now, I feel, you feel out of place, or you feel tested in things. And in those seasons where I feel like it's the hardest seasons of my life, where I've gone through things, I haven't always understood while I'm in the middle of the storm. But once it passes, I always understand why I was in it, and I see that God had a greater purpose in it. My great grandma and all my old people, may the Lord rest her soul. I love my great grandma, y'all. She had this phase where she was like really mean. Her temper was bad, but it was always so fun hanging out with her. And she loved watching WWE, wrestling and whatnot. And I told you guys in the previous pod that she was the first person to discover that I could sing. She prophesied over my life all of these gifts, and still things are to come to pass. But she was an amazing woman of God, and she would say, my grandma still says, and my granddad say, son, you'll understand by and by. And in the moment, I'm really headstrong. I'm really ambitious. When I see something I want it, I go get it. I'm a go-getter. Sometimes they can be to my detriment because I go get it and I fall off the edge of a cliff or something. However, even in those things where I fall off the cliff, God always turns it for my good. Praise the Lamb. But also, when I'm going through things and he's testing my character, he allows me to be refined. He allows me to be changed and molded into a person who can carry the weight that he has called me to carry. And so, even though it's like, God, man, why you putting, like, when you working out in the gym, you can't just lift the same weight over and over again, or you're not going to see any type of progress. You feel me? If you never go to the gym, this is my encouragement to you. Get in the gym. What Michael said, stop it. Get some help. Get in the gym. Health is important. But whether you go to the gym or if you don't, if you lift the same weights, if you never do anything that's increasingly harder, you'll never get stronger. A good mentor of mine called me the other day, man. He had been telling me I need to start waking up so I used to wake up at 5, and now, like, I used to spend time with God, go to the gym, all that stuff. Now it's been more so on the back end, like I do all of that at night. But now, like, I've been in a season where I just be dog tired every day, and so sometimes I miss it. And he called me the other day, and it was like 7 a.m. And granted, I should be up, like, for what I want to achieve, for what I want to do in life, for the greatness I want to achieve. I should be up at 7, and my day should be going. However, he called me, right, and I just started laughing. I'm just like, and he FaceTimed me. He didn't call me. He FaceTimed me. And so I pick up the phone, right, and I'm just looking at it, like looking at myself still in the bed, knowing what he told me. And I'm just like, I'm just laughing, y'all, because I'm like, bro, this dude really called me. You need people in your life that'll call you when you need it. But I was like, bro, he's really calling me right now. Like, he's really calling me. And so he called me, and he said, what you still doing in the bed? And I'm just laughing, like, I don't even know what to say fully. He like, what you still doing in the bed? And I'm like, I ain't got nothing to say because I know I should be up. And he said, Josh, if you want to be great, man, you got to do great things. He said, yo, Dave, man, I wake up at 4 every morning. And I do know the greatest leaders I know wake up early. I'm not going to cap. I'm not going to cap. I'm not even going to cap. Like, I used to be like, bro, it don't take all that. But now I'm seeing by and by that if you want to do great things, great things require great things. Great achievements require great sacrifice. And that's what I'm learning as a 20-year-old. I ain't had that figured out when I was 16, and I'm still going to be learning and cultivating that until like I die. But I have to discipline myself now that, okay, I want to be great. I don't want to be average. I don't want to be mediocre. So I have to put in the work. I have to separate myself from what everybody else is doing. And so when God puts us under the fire, when he is testing our hearts and when he is refining us, when we're in the crucible of life, what he is doing, he is separating all of that stuff, all of the dirt, all of the impurities that's not supposed to be in there, like impatience, sexual immorality. Let's be real. Like greed, fear, all of that stuff that needs to be taken out. He sets me under this fire that isn't comfortable at all. I hate it. But he does that because he doesn't want me to get to the point of where he called me to be and I end up falling like a fraud. He doesn't want me to get to that point. And so he takes us through this journey of life. He takes us through hard things. He allows us to go through hard things in order to get us to our purest form. And granted, it's not perfectionism. We can never be perfect in our sinful nature. However, God is renewing our minds and he's transforming our hearts. Romans says, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. God is renewing our spirits. He's renewing our souls. He's renewing our hearts and our minds. And he's giving us the tools. It feels like he's punishing us sometimes, and it feels like torture, but it's not torture. He's preparing us. He's removing all of that stuff out that don't needs to be there. And he's getting us in our purest form. I want to tell you guys a story. A lot of people know who David is. If you're a Christian, you know the David and Goliath story. Oh, that's so dry, bro. I can't lie, but it tastes a little good. But everybody knows the David and Goliath story. But a lot of people don't know how David was chosen to be king. And so first God chose Saul, and Saul was king. But then Saul sinned against God and he disobeyed God. And so God was like, he ain't the king no more. And so now God already knows who the next king, and he already knew Saul was going to jack it up. God is so meticulous, y'all. Like, he's so much higher than our thoughts, so much higher than our ways. We couldn't even fathom how he put stuff in place. Like, he's the master at just putting stuff in place that all over the Bible, all over history, everything just points to a centerpiece, which is Jesus. And so Saul's still king, but now he instructs Samuel, who is kind of a very prominent high leader of Israel. Maybe he was the leader of Israel before Israel desired for a king to be set in place. And so Samuel's a priest, so he has a very tight relationship with God. And so God tells Samuel to go and anoint the next king, and he says that he is in Bethlehem. And Samuel's like, all right, he's scared. He has to go and say all of these different type of stuff. Go read the story for yourself. But he gets there, and it's this group of men, this family of sons and a father who God instructed Samuel to go and seek the next king out of. And so he gets there and he sees the first son. And now I don't know what this son looked like. That boy was probably yoked up. I'm talking about 6'6", 250, ain't got a 2% body fat. Like, dude was probably yoked up, probably had the perfect hair, perfect skin, whatever. And so he said, surely, like, not even, maybe he was like, this gotta be it. Like, surely this is the Lord's anointed. Surely he's the next king. And God says this. It's interesting what God says. He says, God said, do not look at his appearance or at his physical stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord does not see as man sees. For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And so some of us struggle with comparison. Some of us struggle with feeling like we're less than. But truth is, God don't care. Sometimes we feel like we don't fit the mold. Sometimes we feel like, and sometimes we're afraid to take that leap of faith that God is calling us to take, because it's like, God, I don't really know if I feel like you're calling me to start this business, but I have no business experience. Or God, I feel like you're calling me to preach, but I didn't go to ministry school. God, I feel like I want to do this, but I don't fully feel qualified. I don't know. I didn't grow up in this space. I didn't grow up like this. I didn't grow up Eliab, which was the name of the first son. I didn't grow up him. I didn't grow up with the rich and nice fancy things. I grew up poor. I don't feel like I have a way out. I feel like I'm stuck. I didn't go to the best school that gave me the best education. I wasn't blessed to have two parents in the family home. So we all set ourselves up against this Eliab of this perfect image of who the king is, but not everything that looks like the king is a king. Not everything that gives the perception or the appearance of gold is gold. You know that saying that says, not everything that glitters is gold. This is that instance, and it's in 1 Samuel chapter 16. That's that instance where Samuel sees a thing, and he's like, surely this is the Lord's anointed. And so sometimes on Instagram we look, or in our workspaces or in our communities, we look and we see these people, they're Eliab. They're like, surely they're going to make it in life. Surely she is the next president of the United States. He's the next president of the United States. He's the next LeBron James. We put this appearance out, and we weigh ourselves against a false appearance that God doesn't. He never tests. He never takes into account our past or where we grew up, or he never takes into account what canvas he decides to paint the painting on. He never looks at the appearance. He never decides, this is a blank wall. I'd rather do a sculpture. I'd rather just go on this rock over here. He never decides that. But he looks at the heart. He looks at the vision. He can see further than we can see, y'all. And so Samuel is taken aback. He's like, whoa. Like, I would have been like, you sure, bro? Like, this dude, he yoked up. He looked like a king. God is like, nah, it's not it. And so he has multiple other sons. Jesse, David's father, had multiple other sons. Samuel goes through all of them. And I'm sure he get to the end of it. He just like, bruh. God tell him, no. He like, bruh, I done went through everybody. Who could it be? And Samuel's like, Jesse, you got any other sons, bro? You leaving anybody out? And he's like, yeah, one, David, but he's out tending the sheep. But he says, yeah, he's out. And this is how I picture it. He goes through all the sons. Jesse decides to present all of his best sons, who on the outward appearance look like the king, or looks like a king, or have the quote unquote qualities of a king. And he leaves out David, who's just a shepherd boy tending to the sheep. And so I picture it went like this. Yeah, there's David, but he's out tending the sheep. Like he's being a shepherd right now. Surely he's not the king. And so Samuel's like, bring him to me. And so I'll read it to you. Samuel asked, are all the young men here? And he said, there remains yet the youngest, and there he is keeping the sheep. And Samuel said to Jesse, send and bring him, for we will not sit down until he comes here. So he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy with bright eyes, and he was good looking. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is the one. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. And so what I want you guys to see, David was tending the sheep. He wasn't trying to, present. He probably didn't even know that, Samuel was there looking for the next king of Israel. You feel me? But David wasn't doing something that was outside of himself. He wasn't trying to put forth an image of who he wasn't. He just came in. He was probably dirty. He probably was maybe covered in mud. You feel me? But God didn't look at the outward appearance. God looked at his heart. And he saw, that's the king. That's the king. That's the king. And it says that the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. And I just think about that. God cannot dwell in who we pretend to be. A relationship with God requires full authenticity. I can't sit here and say I've never sinned and I'm all good and be like and have a authentic and real relationship with God. I can't have a real relationship with my friends if I'm putting forth an image that I'm better than them when I'm really not, and I'm struggling, and I ain't got no money, or like I got a Lambo or something, but really I'm broke. You feel me? Like God cannot bless who we pretend to be. He can't dwell in who we pretend to be. And so we always have to put our authentic selves forward. Now, this doesn't mean go telling everybody your business. Not everybody deserves to know who you really are. Not everybody got to know your business. Some things are meant to remain hidden, but some people in your life have to see who you really are. Don't be on social media trying to put a fraudulent version of yourself out there. Don't go get in relationships just because you want to for the sake of people seeing that you're in a relationship. You feel me? Don't put forth an image of you being rich when you dirt broke out here. Like don't do it. And I resonate with homeless people, not because I want to be homeless or anything, but because they put their authentic selves forward. They have so much humility. Think about it, y'all. Especially for men, but for anybody who is truly struggling, to have to lay their pride down and lay it to the side and stand on a corner for hours and ask for anything, just for help. I encountered a guy today. I didn't have any cash on me, but he was so humble in what he was asking for. He didn't even ask for money. He said, retired vet, hungry, anything helps. He didn't ask for money. And so I felt to turn around. I went and bought him a meal and I prayed for him. But it takes so much humility to stand out there and say, look, I am struggling. Can anybody help me? And all of those people that's gonna pass by, I watched as cars passed by. Like anything help. He wasn't asking for money. I mean, yeah, people probably had someone who knows. I'm not saying everybody was a bad person, but somebody who served our country, you could just pass them by. And he's not asking you for cash or for money, but he's asking for something to eat. And he was so, and I walked up to him And I said, hey man, is there anything specific that you would like to eat? Like, is there chick? Like it was like a whole food strip, y'all. That's the other thing. It wasn't even out of the way for people to get him food. Like, we on a food strip. It's Pizza Hut, Wendy's, Whataburger, Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, Walmart, gas station, Jack's. Like, it's so much food around. And this man, and I walked up to him and I said, hey man, is there anything specific you would like to eat? Like, is there anything? He said, man, it don't really, he said, it don't even matter. He said, I ain't ate in 2 days. And I'm like, oh my God. You know, like, I just can't imagine how, and that's not me trying to promote myself or do anything for myself. But I just want to show you guys, man, it takes a lot of humility to stand out there on a corner and be who you truly are. And I pray his name was Sam. Y'all be praying for Sam with me. I pray for him. And, you know, I pray things get better for him. And he was a believer in Jesus, y'all. So I was going to lead him to Christ if he wasn't. You know, I was ready. I was ready. And I'm getting teary-eyed, a little teary-eyed right here. But, you know, it takes a lot of humility and to be your authentic self. But he couldn't receive the help he needed. I wouldn't have been in a position to give him a meal if he hadn't humbled himself and been his authentic person of what he was going through and put himself out there and not even be greedy. Like, literally, when I gave him the food, y'all, he got off he walked, I don't know where he walked. He took his phone and walked off the corner, or he took the food, said thank you, I prayed for him, and he walked off the corner and he went somewhere and ate. Like, that's true authenticity. That's him not being a fraud. You feel me? So we always gotta be who God has made us to be. And it's a lot of things floating around out here that's saying, you know, be yourself. Not that type of be yourself. You walk in your own truth. Your own truth is subjective. What defines truth? If everybody got their own truth, is that really true? There has to be a common law. There has to be an objective force that sets truth in place that then trickles down into everybody else. I mean, like, I'm not going to get too deep into it. That's another pod for another day. I can go on a soapbox on that one. But just know your truth doesn't exist. God's truth exists. Your own identity doesn't exist. God knit you and he formed you in the womb. He knows your every thought. He knows your every desire. He knows the numbers. He knows the number of hairs upon your head. Just think about that. If I just sat here and counted, I couldn't even count every strand of hair on my head. I can't even count every twist in my head right now. You feel me? God created you to be someone. And just because that person is struggling, or just because that person is not in the best spot right now, does not give you the right to throw away who God called you to be and pick up a fraudulent person who the world is trying to get you to be. That does not give you the right. Who is the clay to say to the potter, hey, this is what I am. This is what I want to do. Just saying. So continuing with the David story, he's anointed, but he doesn't start acting like a king right away. He still continues to be who he is. He's still a shepherd. He's still playing the EG, the electric guitar. You feel me? And so one day he goes and he's so humble. He takes food to his brothers on the battlefield. Think about the humility. You in the front of a whole bunch of overly egotistical and masculine men, and you going to bring out bread. You know how weird that might seem, especially in the old times. They probably clown him for that. Like, you bringing food out here, bro? Like, we all out here fighting for our life. You bringing food. But we need those people who bring food. But just trying to put it in context. But this warrior on the other side, Goliath, he started talking smack about God. But none of these guys do anything about it. Eliab, all yoked and big, looks like a king, ain't do nothing. Nobody else on that battlefield did anything about their God being disrespected. Saul, the king, ain't do a thing about it. And David was a G. He said, this uncircumcised Philistine, who the boy? If like in modern times, I can't even put into words what that phrase probably meant. This little, you feel me? Like David was a savage. And so David is like, let me go out and fight him. Like, let's go. And y'all, sometimes there's Goliaths in our life. Sometimes people call me overly ambitious. Woo! I feel this in my spirit. Woo! I'm sweating. Sometimes people call me overly ambitious. David saw a problem and he wanted to solve the problem, but nobody else saw in him to solve that problem. Jesus said, I can't remember the exact phrase, but he said a prophet is not considered great in his hometown. So the people that you're closest to, sometimes the people that you're closest to, the people that say they love you the most, or the people, your family, they don't fully see the entire picture of who God calls you to be. Jesus' very own hometown could not come to grips and recognize that he was the Messiah. Whew. So maybe in this scripture, a lot of people maybe call David overly ambitious. Bro, you a shepherd boy. What you doing trying to go out here and kill a giant? What's wrong with you? Are you dumb? Some people call me overly ambitious. Nah, man, I pray like it depends on God, and I work like it depends on me. So I'm going to face every Goliath. I don't care what it is. If I fall, I fall. Cool. But I'm going to face it. Best believe I'm going to face it. Don't be afraid of failure. David could have very well failed. That story could have ended differently. David could have threw that rock and missed. And then he could have been dead. Because I'm sure he ain't winning a one-on-one battle, you feel me, with a giant. He ain't winning that. Let's just be real. But he had the courage and he had the faith to say, who is this talking about my God like that? We ain't having that. I'm going to fight him. And so then they gonna send him. They just like, hey, if you want to do it, bro. And so they try to give him Saul's armor. They tried to put on him an appearance and a personality that was not his. It's not who he was. And David recognized, I cannot win this battle trying to be something I am not. I'm a shepherd boy. I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to be who God has called me to be in this moment. Maybe God will allow me to be a warrior later and wear some armor later, but right now I've been in the field. I've been among the sheep. Right now in this moment, I'm a shepherd boy. I know how to sling rocks. So I'm respectfully but disrespectfully, I'm going to take this off and I'm going to do what I do. And so he got the rock, foul, hit him. Took one, knocked him cold, and then chopped his head off with Goliath's sword. And then all of Israel rallied behind David and blah, blah, blah. But David did not accept, in the face of adversity, in the face of ambition, because that's what it was. Yes, he was disrespecting God, but that was ambition. It's very ambitious to technically not to have the qualifications of a soldier or the necessary experience, but to still say you're about to go kill the best warrior in their army. That takes ambition. That takes grit. And David did it, but he didn't do it as somebody else. He did it as himself. So we got to fight the fraud. That's what David did. He took that junk off, fought the fraud. And then we know David wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. But he went on to be the king of Israel, and he is in the lineage of Jesus. Through all the adversity he went through. We can go read all of the Psalms that he wrote. All of his songs were authentic. My favorite one, Psalm 51. I pray it over myself every day. He's just saying, basically he was saying, Lord, I've sinned. I've done wrong. I'm not perfect. But create in me a clean heart. God, give me wisdom. I ain't got this all together. I ain't got this all figured out. It's that authenticity and humility that allows God to do great things in our life. So let's do it, y'all. You feel me? Fight the fraud. Fight the fraud. Don't be a pretender. And we have to fight it every day. The enemy would love for us to pretend to be somebody we not. God has put us in this world for a certain force. But he put us in this world. He put you in this world to be a force, to be a certain force. But if you acting like somebody else, you can't do that. So of course the enemy wants you to fall in love with the riches or the females or the guys or the things that seem to produce happiness. I seen a scripture. I was reading Proverbs the other day. I think it was Proverbs chapter 16, maybe verse 32 or 33. I could be wrong, but it's towards the end of Proverbs. And it says, better a dry crust. Think about this. Let me look this up, actually. I don't want to lie to y'all. It's actually chapter 17, verse 1, y'all. It says, better is a dry crust with peace than a house full of feasting with strife. Think about let's just let that sit for 2 seconds. Better than a dry crust with peace than a house full of feasting with strife. Let that mean to you what it will. I hope God has spoken to some of your hearts today. I know this is very convicting for me as well. I will never present something to you that I have not allowed to work on me myself and is working on me and in me. So I hope you got some out of this, y'all. Hey, fight the fraud, man. Fight the fraud. I love y'all. Have an amazing Friday. Peace out.